Is the quality of the Premier League at an all-time low? Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today's video is going to centre around that very question being asked. Is the Premier League's quality at an all-time low? This year in England's top-tier division, it has become heavily criticised for not exactly being pleasing on the eye. Aesthetically, a lot of people are criticising it, saying it's not how it used to be. Individual brilliance is at an all-time low. Beautiful football is a rarity in the game these days, and it all relies on how good or how consistent you are from set pieces. Throw-ins, long throw-ins at that, corners, free kicks, and so on and so forth. But is that criticism warranted? Is it genuine? Or is it just fans of the product being extremely salty? Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about that question down below in the comment section. Your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure it'll make for great and interesting reading. Whilst you're there as well, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already and subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And let's get on with the story ourselves, shall we? Let's get on with that very question. Is the Premier League's quality at an all-time low? Now, let me start off by saying that I can already probably guess that a certain fan base are going to think that I'm calling them out on this, because a lot of them are quite sensitive, but I've not actually mentioned any specific team yet. But a lot of other people, when discussing this very similar topic, a lot of content creators, a lot of people in the mainstream media and so on and so forth, will automatically go to Arsenal on this topic as being a sort of trendsetter, if you like, for finding a level of consistency from set pieces and working it into their game to the point where a lot of people think that they heavily rely on set pieces. And there is an element of truth to that. Arsenal have found a ridiculous consistency from set pieces, the likes of which I don't think has ever been discovered or recognised in my personal lifetime, at least I don't think. So there is an element of truth to that. And, you know, if Arsenal are struggling to break down low blocks, if Arsenal are struggling to get goals in games from open play, it's not a bad weapon to have in your back pocket from set pieces, whether it be corners, free kicks, or even the occasional long throw-in. I've said on many occasions, I personally believe that I don't really have a problem with set pieces. I don't have a problem with teams relying on set pieces. There's more than one way to win a football game, and set pieces are part and parcel of football in general. If you can find a way to make it to your advantage, then by all means, go for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be critical of the overall product of the game, because let's be real here. It's not just Arsenal that are relying on set pieces. It's other teams as well. They're finding consistency from set pieces. Even my club of Liverpool are finding a level of consistency from set pieces. We're the second team in this kind of league table to score the most amount of goals from set pieces. I think Arsenal are just ahead of us, but we were top at one point last week. But you get my meaning. Like, Liverpool are finding consistency, and we never used to under Jurgen Klopp, by the way. For the amount of set pieces we did have, we never used to find this level of consistency before. But now we have, and a lot of other teams are using it. I'm seeing long throw-ins, I'm seeing free kicks and corners be used to their advantage. And you know what? From an aesthetic side of things, it's not exactly the most glorious way to play football. It's not my personal preference. I would like to see more beautiful football. I'd like to see more individual brilliance. But at the same time, I'm not going to be overly critical of when a team finds a level of consistency from a different element of the game, such as set pieces and long throws. I also find it incredibly hilarious that someone like Arne Slot would come out and criticise the product. Earlier this week, he criticised the product of the Premier League, claiming it's overly reliant on set pieces and long throw-ins, whilst also not really having the awareness that most of Liverpool's goals in recent weeks have come from set pieces. We scored three goals from set pieces against West Ham in our 5-2 win last week as Exhibit A. We also have Joe Gomez, who recently this season has been taking long throw-ins when he has been on the pitch. So, again, it's very hypocritical on Arne Slot, and I will call him out even if he is my manager. But it's not just him. There are other coaches and other managers that are not exactly happy with the way that there is a seemingly over-reliance on set pieces. There's an over-reliance seemingly on long throw-ins. Fabian Hürzeler, for example, in the aftermath of his team's defeat to Arsenal last night, claimed that there was only one team that was trying to play football on the night. A clear dig at Arsenal Football Club. Look, I think on the Premier League front, I think the level of competition has gone up. I think the quality has declined. I think you can have it both ways. I think that teams have managed to find ways to combat maybe exploiting certain weaknesses of bigger teams, and maybe set pieces is obviously a big way to do that. I think it is a basic way of doing that. I don't necessarily think it takes a lot more. I think it takes a lot less effort to train set pieces than it does by getting football on the ground and playing between you, making these little triangles and patterns of play and stuff like that. But again, I'm not criticising it. I'm just saying that out of the two, I think one is easier to somewhat coach than the other. It's a way of, like I say, it's a way of having these teams that are near the bottom of the table to rise up and challenge the bigger teams that are nearer the top of the table. I think that is a way of doing it. I think that's why you've seen a lot of the smaller teams or the lesser teams in the division take some big points off of some of the top teams in the division. I think that's why you've seen some inconsistencies at times. I think that's why you have seen teams not really go on like massive winning runs this year as they have done in previous years. I think all of those factors combined all add to this very question being answered, or at least goes into the debate of whether the quality of the Premier League has declined. And not only that as well, but obviously when you talk about nostalgia, and we have talked about this before, when you do talk about nostalgia and you talk about the football that you saw growing up, and you talk about individual brilliance, let's not forget here that what really started to kill off individual brilliance was managers like a Pep Guardiola, for example, who comes in and makes football seemingly very robotic and very systematic. Like, still at times some beautiful football to watch, don't get me wrong. Pep Guardiola's sides over the years have played some absolutely astounding beautiful football at times. But you could tell that as time progressed, as Guardiola continued his dominance, not just in the English game, but across Europe as well, football became systematic. Football became more robotic. There were copycats of Guardiola's style of play. Copycats that wanted to be like Pep Guardiola. Every now and again, you get someone different, like a Jurgen Klopp, for example, who was more on the entertaining side of things and more on the heavy metal side of things, shall we say. But for the most part, a lot of people fancied themselves to be a somewhat B-Tech, bootleg, cheaper version of a Pep Guardiola. And as time progressed, a lot of people wanted to play that way, wanted to do that. And so individual brilliance slowly but surely started to decline as well. And that's what's contributed to the declining quality. And I think it's only just adding to that, as far as what I can tell about this latest trend, until someone can find a way to somewhat combat it, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there are going to be rules that come into place with these kind of things, because teams are starting to somewhat bend the rules a little bit when it comes to set pieces, in terms of what they can and can't get away with, in terms of being somewhat overly physical in the box, in terms of maybe crowding the goalkeeper, in terms of obviously trying to put the goalkeeper off, or obstruct defenders, or whatever the case may be, until either certain rules are passed to kind of combat this, which I imagine they're probably looking at, the lawmakers of the game, or until a manager comes in that has a way of combating and defending from set pieces in a certain way. This is seemingly a trend that will go on for a little while at least, and then we may go back to another trend. We may find a new trend in the game that teams can exploit and teams can run with for a while. These kind of things come and go. Like I say, sometimes it's about defensive structure, sometimes about going forward, sometimes it's a mixture of both, sometimes it's, like I say, set pieces. There are different elements of the game that often go through traits of trends of being extremely popular, whether it even be formations. Maybe like we'll go back to the days of 4-4-2 maybe soon, or maybe we go back to having traditional wingers. I think it's just a trend. I think it will pass, and then someone else will latch on to something else. And whilst there'll always be a place for set pieces in the modern day game, you never know. It's an interesting one. But look, overall, I understand why Arsenal fans are somewhat sensitive to this, because they often get labelled as being set piece FC, ole ole. They're only guilty of finding an extremely phenomenal consistency from set pieces. Which a lot of teams are catching up on, because I think it's more simple to do than teach players how to play proper football. And again, it's not a dig. I think it's just simpler to teach them how to set up from a corner. And obviously, if you've got a good delivery, if you've got someone who's got a good delivery, which pretty much every team now should have, you would imagine, with the amount of money that they're paid, it's simpler to do than to teach patterns of play and build up play from one end of the pitch to the other. So, for me, the competitive side of the English Premier League, all-time high. Maybe not all-time high, but very high, shall we say. The aesthetic side of the game, is it easy on the eye? Is it the best product that you can find out there? Probably not. Probably not, in all honesty. But I think that's been that way for some time. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Liverpool fan and things haven't exactly gone our way this year. I've been saying it for a while now. I do find it ironic, though, on certain Arsenal fans that are saying, no, the league is very competitive. No, the league is definitely competitive. And it looks really good as well, because those are the same Arsenal fans that weren't saying that last year when Liverpool were winning the league, and it was the PGMOL League, the David Coote League, the Howard Webb League, VAR League, Liverpool, and all of that stuff that they were peddling out last year, because they couldn't look at themselves in the mirror and go, we weren't good enough to challenge Liverpool last season. Instead, it's hypocrisy at its finest. It's Arsenal fans now going, the league's now competitive, the league's great, the league's this, the league's that, the league's the other, waxing lyrical about the Premier League. And conveniently, the difference between last season and this season is that Arsenal are now top and not where they are usually in second place. So, read into that bit what you will, but for me, like I say, the bottom line on this, from my personal opinion and perspective, competitive side, high, aesthetic side, all-time low. all-time low in my personal opinion, and that's just a preference thing. That is just a preference thing, in my opinion. But look, those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. So I want to know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this topic of conversation. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on whether or not you think the quality of the Premier League is at an all-time low. Let me know in that comment section down there. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.